Okay, so, you know, this article you sent over about things folks in their late 60s and early 70s should stop doing
Yeah.
for like a healthier and longer life.
Right.
And it had some pretty surprising advice in there.
Yeah, it's funny. What I really liked about this article is how it just kind of goes beyond the typical, like, physical health stuff.
Right.
And gets into emotional well-being and finances and, how we view our homes and our relationships.
Mm.
It really is like a whole life kind of shift.
Yeah.
Not just like little tweaks here and there.
Right. Like we've worked hard. We've kind of earned some wisdom now. How do we actually like put it to use in these later years? Mm-hmm. And the first thing that really jumped out at me from this article is they say, forget the fortune tellers.
Oh, I love that. I know. I love that part.
It's like stop trying to predict the future and just focus on what you can control.
Right.
Right? Your health, your attitude.
Exactly.
The daily choices that build up over time.
It's about taking charge instead of just kind of being like, oh, well, let's see what happens.
Right. And speaking of taking charge, they had some interesting things to say about safety, too.
Yeah.
Like maybe ease up on climbing on ladders or like scrambling up to get things.
Yeah. It's easy to think, oh, I've always done this, but our balance changes. Bones aren't quite the same.
Right.
A fall at this age is a different story.
Totally.
It's not just a bruise. It can really kind of snowball and, affect your independence.
Definitely makes you think about all those little things around the house, too.
Totally.
Maybe it's time for some extra handrails or better lighting, decluttering those walkways.
Yeah.
So there's less to trip over.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of on a less physical note, but just as important.
Yeah.
The article was really big on financial preparedness.
Oh, yeah, which makes total sense. We're talking about, potential medical expenses, maybe needing help around the house someday, or just wanting to enjoy life without stressing about every penny.
Yeah.
Financial stability just equals peace of mind.
It really does.
Especially as we get older.
And peace of mind is priceless.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They even suggest, like talking to a financial advisor if you haven't already,
Mm-hmm.
to look at your specific situation.
Right, yeah.
And help you plan for those what ifs.
Yep.
Okay, so here's one that might hit close to home for a lot of us.
Okay.
They say, ease up on those workaholic tendencies.
Oh, I underline that one.
I know.
It's so tempting to keep going at the same pace.
Mm-hmm.
But our bodies, they send us different signals now.
Right.
And honestly, pushing too hard can backfire big time.
Yeah.
Lead to burnout or even serious health problems.
Yeah, it's all about finding that balance between staying active
Yeah.
and engaged with the world,
Right.
but also giving ourselves permission to rest.
Practically.
Rest is not being lazy.
Wow.
It's recharging so we can enjoy those active times even more.
Absolutely.
Okay, and here's where the article gets really interesting.
Okay.
It says, stop being so darn frugal.
I know, right?
Like, you've earned the right to enjoy life a little bit.
Exactly.
It's not about blowing your savings,
Right.
but being more open to experiences, travel things that bring you genuine joy.
It's about shifting that mindset from, I have to save every penny to I deserve to kind of savor what I've worked for.
Yeah, treat yourself to a nice dinner.
Yes.
Take that trip you've been dreaming of.
You've earned it.
Exactly, you've earned it. And speaking of things that we cherish, the article had a whole section about our homes.
Yes.
And basically it said, don't be so quick to sell, even if downsizing seems logical.
Yes, that emotional connection, that sense of independence and familiarity that our homes provide.
That's like your space.
Exactly.
Your way of doing things.
Yeah, moving in with family or downsizing, it sounds good on paper.
It does.
But it can also mean a loss of control.
Absolutely.
Like disruption to our routine.
Big time.
Which can be really hard at this age.
Right. It's like weigh the emotional cost of leaving a place that's filled with memories and your own space.
It's a big decision, not just a financial one.
Exactly. And while we're on the topic of things we might be tempted to buy.
All this fancy health product.
Yes. All those magic creams and supplements promising to turn back the clock.
Right.
And the article is like, just stick to the proven healthy habits.
Exactly.
Don't fall for the quick fixes.
Yeah.
Eat well. Move your body. See
Yeah.
your doctor regularly. That's the foundation.
Way more sustainable than chasing every new fad that comes along.
Yeah.
Be smart with our health choices, both for our bodies and our wallets.
Mm-hmm. And it feels like this whole article is about making those conscious choices.
It is.
Not just reacting to whatever life throws at us.
Right.
But actually stopping and thinking, okay, what do I want these years to be like?
Exactly.
And that leads us to another interesting point, but I think we'll save that for after a quick break.
Sounds good.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
So, before the break, we were talking about making conscious choices as we get older.
Right.
And this next piece of advice really resonated with me. It's about how our relationships, especially like work relationships,
Oh, yeah.
can change once we're retired.
It's like you spend years with these people, sometimes decades,
Yeah.
and then poof, you're not seeing them every day.
Yeah.
You're not in the trenches together.
Exactly. You know, those water cooler moments,
Right.
sharing those experiences.
And that can feel like a loss.
It can, but the article really encourages us to view it as like a natural shift.
Okay.
It's not that those relationships weren't meaningful or important. It's just that life kind of, moves on.
Yeah.
And now we have this space to nurture the connections that are most important to us in this current chapter.
Yeah, so maybe spending more time with family, close friends, or even, exploring new hobbies.
Right.
Volunteer opportunities where we can meet like-minded people.
Absolutely. It's about being present in our current relationships,
Right.
not clinging to the past.
Right. And speaking of being present, the next bit of advice is all about patience.
Oh, yeah.
When we're younger, it's all about rushing, getting things done, making decisions quickly.
Gotta prove something, right?
Like, we've got to prove something.
Yes.
But this article suggests that in these later years, sometimes the wisest choice is to wait.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, don't rush into a decision, especially if it's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself time to think it through.
Sleep on it.
Sleep on it, talk it over with someone you trust.
Exactly.
Sometimes the answer just becomes clear.
It
If we stop trying to force it.
Yeah,
And honestly, isn't that kind of a relief?
it is.
It's like we've earned the right to take our time a little bit.
Yes, we have.
Another area where I think patience comes in handy is family dynamics,
Oh, for sure.
especially when it comes to, shall we say, financial matters.
Oh, this is a good one. The article cautions against flaunting our wealth to relatives.
Oh.
You've worked hard, you're finally comfortable. Maybe you even want to share some of that good fortune.
Yeah.
But it can really backfire.
It can create envy, resentment, awkwardness,
Exactly.
even put a strain on those relationships.
Right. It's almost counterintuitive, right? Like, you want to be generous, but sometimes the best way to protect those family bonds is to be discreet about our finances.
Yeah.
Focus on the emotional connection, not the material stuff.
And honestly, that's a good reminder for any stage of life.
Oh, absolutely.
Genuine connection trumps material wealth any day.
It really does.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit, the article also talks about the importance of our neighbors.
Yes.
And this might seem kind of mundane, but it's huge, especially as we get older.
It is. Think about it. Your neighbors are often the people who see you most regularly, who might notice if something's off,
Yeah.
or who can lend a hand in a pinch.
They're your built-in support system.
They are.
Whether it's borrowing a cup of sugar or checking in on each other during a storm or just waving hello. Right.
On your morning walk.
Exactly.
It's those little interactions that create a sense of community and belonging.
For sure. And sometimes, honestly, it's just nice to have somebody to chat with over the fence.
Absolutely.
It combats that isolation that can kind of creep in,
Yeah.
especially if we're living alone or don't get out as much.
Right. And, another simple but important thing they mentioned is lighting.
Yes.
Seems basic, but
But it's crucial as we get older. Our vision changes.
yeah.
We might not be as steady on our feet.
Right.
Good lighting, both indoors and outdoors, can prevent falls, make us feel more secure moving around.
So think about, well-lit walkways, motion sensor lights, outside night lights in the hallways.
Mm-hmm.
Those little things can make a big difference
We can.
in our confidence and our safety.
It's about being proactive,
Yeah.
anticipating those potential hazards and taking steps to minimize them.
And speaking of minimizing hazards, I think we need to talk about one of the biggest ones of all,
Oh, yes.
comparing ourselves to others. That trap never really goes away.
It never does. It's so easy to fall into, especially with social media nowadays.
Oh, no, I know.
Seeing everyone's highlight reels and thinking,
Yeah.
why isn't my life like that? Or I should be doing more,
Right.
achieving more.
It's a recipe for misery.
It is.
The article reminds us that everyone's journey is unique.
Right.
We all face challenges. We've had triumphs. We've experienced things that nobody else has.
Mm-hmm.
And comparing ourselves just robs us of the joy of our own story.
It's like we've earned the right to define success on our own terms.
We have. Absolutely.
It's about celebrating our own achievements, big and small,
Mm-hmm.
and finding that contentment in our own unique path.
Yes.
And I think that kind of ties into this next piece of advice,
Okay.
which is all about moderation,
Okay.
specifically moderation with food.
As we age, our metabolisms change. our digestive systems might not be as robust as they once were.
Right.
And overeating can lead to all sorts of problems.
It can make us feel sluggish.
Yeah.
It can affect our sleep, put extra strain on our hearts.
Right.
The article talks about paying attention to portion sizes,
Right.
eating mindfully, really savoring our food instead of just mindlessly gobbling it down.
It's about nourishing our bodies with good food, but also listening to our body's cues.
Yes.
And knowing when we've had enough.
It's about that balance.
Yes, it is.
Enjoying food, but not overdoing it.
Absolutely.
And speaking of balance, they also have some pretty strong words about certain types of food.
Okay.
Specifically those high in fat and salt.
Yeah, those are the ones we need to be mindful of because they're directly linked to heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes.
Right.
And those are the kinds of conditions that can really impact our quality of life as we get older.
It's not about depriving ourselves.
No.
It's about making choices that support our long-term health and well-being.
Exactly.
This whole conversation reminds me of something else that the article touched on.
Yeah.
It's the connection between our minds and our bodies.
Oh, yes. That's so important. It's easy to think that our emotions are just in our heads, but they have a real tangible impact on our physical health.
Yeah. Chronic stress, anger, anxiety, those things can weaken our immune systems.
Absolutely.
Make us more susceptible to illness.
And on the flip side, positive emotions like joy, gratitude, a sense of purpose, those can actually boost our resilience and protect our health.
So finding healthy ways to manage stress.
Yeah.
Cultivate those positive emotions. That's a crucial part of this whole longevity equation.
It really is.
It's not just diet and exercise.
Yeah.
It's taking care of our mental and emotional well-being, too.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From finances to relationships to that all-important mind-body connection.
Right.
What else? Is there anything else that really jumped out at you from this article?
You know what really struck me is how much of this advice boils down to self-care.
Oh, yeah.
It's about being kind to ourselves, listening to our bodies,
Yeah.
and making choices that honor our needs and desires.
At this stage of life.
Exactly.
And isn't that a beautiful message?
It is.
It's like we've earned the right to prioritize ourselves,
Yes.
to enjoy the fruits of our labor,
Absolutely.
to create a life that feels truly good, both physically and emotionally.
And that brings us to the last point the article made, which I think is the perfect note to end on. So it's all about kind of taking ownership, not in like a controlling way, but just in a way that says like, I've got this, I've got the experience, I've got the wisdom, and I'm going to use it to create a life that feels good, that reflects my values, and allows me to really kind of, savor and enjoy these years to the fullest.
It is so empowering, right?
It is.
It's like giving us permission to step into this next chapter.
Yeah.
With confidence, with intention, and to do it our own way.
Exactly. It's not about following somebody else's blueprint. It's about creating our own. And, that can look so different for everybody.
Yeah.
Some people might want to travel the world. Other people might want to, spend more time with grandkids. Maybe finally pursue that hobby they've always dreamed of.
Right.
The point is, it's your life, your choice.
And that's what makes it so exciting, right?
It does.
There's still so many possibilities, so many adventures to be had.
Yeah.
Even as we get older.
Yeah.
It's about embracing
Yeah.
those possibilities, not shrinking from them.
Absolutely. And, that can be scary sometimes.
Yeah.
Stepping outside our comfort zones, trying new things, facing challenges.
Right.
It's all part of the journey, though. And honestly, I think that's what keeps us feeling young at heart.
I agree.
That willingness to learn, to grow.
To keep exploring.
To keep exploring, exactly. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into all this fantastic advice, what's the one thing you really hope our listeners take away from all of this?
For me, it's just the reminder that aging is not a decline, it's an evolution.
Ooh, I like that.
It's a chance to shed old habits, embrace new perspectives, and just create a life that truly reflects who we are at this moment in time. And it's never too late to start.
Beautifully said. And I think that's the perfect note to end on,
It is.
It's never too late to start living our best lives, no matter what age we are.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We'll be back next time with more fascinating insights to explore together.